Well, to get to as another approach to doing pre-qualifying research, do you subscribe to any of the individual background search programs like I don't know, Truth Finder or People Finder? Is that a better benefit? Because I do get, when you do biz buy sell, you do get a lot of inquiries, and sometimes you're a little reluctant, even with an NDA, to send out information if it is a competitor. If you do a little research and find out they really don't fit the mold.
Yeah.
To do a little background, and in fact, I was using the free People Finder thing, and you find out, this guy is, I mean, when it gives you a big alert that says, hey, he's got a criminal record and he's declared bankruptcy a couple of times, you go, okay, I think I'm going to skip over this guy. So and I've talked to several EXP agents that use various sources for people searching. Again, this is not to, stalk or dig into people's private things, but it's a way of kind of pre-qualifying to say, okay, should I invest the time to really get a hold of this person as a potential prospect?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a couple things. There's a buyer profile sheet in SkySlope in the national folder, National Business Broker folder. And so one of the things you can do when somebody, you can send them that buyer profile along with the NDA. And that way have them fill it out. It's going to ask them some information. It's going to ask them for investment criteria and all that, but it'll give you something to start on. And then I usually just have a phone call and ask them, any further questions on it. There's also a buyer disclosure, and a buyer disclosure will ask them if they have ever been convicted of a felony, and also if they've ever declared bankruptcy. So, if you are dealing with somebody who you believe is going to be a competitor and you want to be very careful about the information, and qualify them and screen them out first, you may want to have them fill out a buyer disclosure, and just let them know that, say, hey, we need to get the buyer disclosure and the buyer profile completed before we're allowed to, or before we're authorized to provide you with confidential information about the business. So that's a way of being a little more stringent in qualifying. I personally don't do background searches on any buyers. It would be just really time consuming to do that for every, for every prospect. But if there's one of the things I will do, though, is especially if it's competitor or something, you just run their name by the seller. To say, yeah, I had an inquiry from, Joe Smith or whatever. What do you know about him? And would you be comfortable with me sending him information? Because there are, sellers, they typically know people in their own industry, and they'll tell you if it's somebody that they're not comfortable with, or that, they've had a bad experience. Maybe they subbed some work out to them and they did a horrible job, or that person subbed work out to them, they did the work and never got paid for it. So, there are issues that can come up, reasons why a seller might say, no, absolutely not. I want nothing to do that with that person. So.
Yeah, I was going to just make a comment. I've used the buyer profile almost as a way of saying, are you really motivated, or are you just filling out the inquiry, a dozen at a time, a dozen listings at a time. So to me, it was almost like a hurdle. If you're willing to, because I've got one that's very thorough in the saying, if you're willing to fill this out, then I've got a better feeling that you're more motivated than perhaps just, making general inquiries. So.
Yeah, exactly. It's a hurdle. Exactly. So is the NDA, for that matter. It's amazing to me how many buyers will actually inquire about a business, and then you send them the NDA and they never sign it. It's like, well, how motivated were they? So they must have been going through and just clicking the buttons and, requesting information on everything out there.